Okay, welcome. We are going to create the welcome page. The first thing I'm going to do now is to import the resources we will need for this application. So what I'm going to do is I'll just navigate to this folder. Let me minimize this. And then inside here, under resources, I'm going to create a new folder called drawable NodeDPI. And then I'll import all the files here. So I'll create a duplicate of this. And then I'll navigate. So the files can be found inside the complete project under artwork and then under images. So you'll find Swan. We'll need Swan and then the other 4 here. So let's just copy this and then we paste it inside there. Okay. So back inside the application, we should see them inside our drawable folder. Good. Yeah, always add. Okay, so let's get to it then. So I'm going to split this. Let me just show the design. And then we are inside the main activity. Sorry, so we'll go inside welcome. And then we'll start the design from there. So I don't need these. Good. So inside here, we're going to use an image view. First, let me convert this frame layout to a constraint layout. And then we're going to use an image view here. So we're going to use, how large should the image be? Let's just set this to be 120 by 120 for now. And I'm going to set the bottom of this image to be at the bottom of the screen. You know what, let me just exclude these things for now. We will add the source of the image will be, let's just pick one of those images. So luxury, nice. And we'll add a little content description here saying image on the welcome page. Okay. So I'll give it an ID of logo, and then okay, I'll set some guidelines here. So let's go into this mode, and then let's right click on the constraint layout, and then we set some helpers here. I need a vertical guideline, and I think I need 2 of them. So 2 vertical guidelines. And then let me just rename them quickly. So I'll call this vertical guideline. Okay, so left vertical guide, of course. And then we have right vertical guide. Good. And okay, so we'll go inside split mode again. and then we are going to set, so the left hand side is going to have a margin at the beginning of 48 dp, and then over here for the right hand side, we are going to set guide begin to guide end instead, and then we're also going to give it 48 dp. So it will create a guideline here for me to use to properly align the items on the page. So I'm going to add 2 more guidelines for the bottom and the top. So helper, so in this case we need horizontal, 2 of them, helpers horizontal. So guideline 3 will be top horizontal, so horiz, and then guide. And then this will be bottom or bottom. I hope you're having fun here. Okay, so for this side, for the bottom, once again I'm going to set it to end, so that it will start at the bottom of the screen. And then we're also going to give it 48 dp. And then for the top, we're going to give it 128 dp. Like, we need a huge margin at the top. Okay, and you realize that I'm making use of this 48 dp a number of times. So what I'm going to do is, let me just extract this into another file called dimensions, and then I'll create a dimension over here with the name spacing. Let me set a number of them here. So we have spacing none. Once again, this is my way of making sure I centralize everything. 32 right here. You can have 48, 64. Don't worry, we'll be using all of them. Don't worry at all. So 48, 64, 128, and then 256. So what I'm going to do here is I'll change this to small, change this to normal, this to large, and then I'll start using the sizes over here. So 32, 48, x 64, x 128, and then x 256. So let me just give it a little heading over here. I'll call this spacing. Good. So now let's start using our spaces. So we are going to call it spacing 48, and then we have the same here, spacing 48. So we are going to have 128 here, and then we also have 48 there. Good. So now let's properly align our image view onto the page. So I'm going to set the left hand side of the image, which is the start. So I'm going to set the start to be at the end of my left vertical guide, and I'm also going to set the end, which is the right hand side, to the start of my right vertical guide, so that the image will be centered like this. And then I'm also going to move the image down to the bottom of the screen. So I'm also going to set the button to be at the top of my button horizontal guide. Good. Now we don't have any issue with this constraint over here. And the next thing is, let me add a couple of texts. Okay, so let me add a text view here, and then we are going to set the width to be spacing none, and then the height to wrap content. I'm going to give it a vertical padding of spacing, let's say large, and the text itself will be a description of the application. So let me just put the app name here for now. Let me set the text appearance to be headline 4, so that it will be very big. Good. Probably 4 is too big, but yeah, who cares? And let me align this properly. So let me just give it a text alignment of the start of the view. And I'm going to set constraints over here. So let me just give it an ID. So I'm just going to call this app description 1, like this. And then I'll set the start, which is the left hand side, to be at the end of the left constraint once again. So this is what I'm doing. I'm setting the left hand side of this to be at the right hand side of this left constraint. So this is the left hand side of the constraint, the right hand side of this constraint. And then I'm just aligning this item to the end of it. You understand? So that it will be properly, sized within our view. And I set the width to be 0 dB, which is spacing none, because I want to be able to dynamically set the width without having to rely on this fixed value here. Okay, so I also set the top to be at the bottom of our top horizontal guide, and I'll set the end to be at the start of our right vertical guide. Good, it's looking good already. Yeah, so this is what we have here. Wow, I think this UI is fine. We can put this on the Play Store. Okay, so I'll add one more view here. So let me just duplicate this. And then I'll call this description 2. And instead of headline 4, I'm going to use a body text. So body 1. And this text, we are going to create the text inside soon. So. Okay, so instead of the top being at the bottom of this top horizontal guide, it will rather be at the bottom of our app description 1, just below it. And I'm going to give this a horizontal padding of spacing small. Yeah, so that we can have some spacing inside here. And yeah, so let's add our description and the like. So let's just go inside here, and then so usually I keep a short name for my application and then a long one here. That's just me. So we have application description 1. So let me use this as script. Sorry, let's create your own style, and then I'm going to have the second description here saying something else. Okay, so let me just paste this inside here. I don't need to type all of this. Okay, so let's go back into this design, and then we set this to be the app description 2, and then the one on top to be app description 1. Good. Application is looking nice already. And yeah, okay, I think the last thing left here for this page, the last widget we'll be adding will be a material button. Right, a button to allow the user to either move to the home page or the authentication page. So we're going to use wrap content. I'll set the style here to be material button style, and I'm going to give it a text of get started, and then sorry, I'm going to give it and then I'm going to position this right under the description. So the top will be at the bottom of description 2, and then of course the start will be at the end of the left vertical guide. Good. And I'm going to give it an ID of get started. So let's save this text. Let's extract it to get started. And then we're also going to add a content description here with the same text, get started. So let's save this content description. So we'll call it content description image welcome page. The reason why we are adding the content description is for accessibility, for those who cannot, I don't know whether it's hearing aids or vision aids or all those things. It's a good practice to actually create applications that are accessible to those people with special needs, right? So that's the reason why we add content description, so that they can just speak, and then if there's an application on the device that allows them to, move around the application, this app, without having to tap on it, then that's it. Okay, I don't know if it makes sense, but yeah. Okay, now that we have these designs out of the way, let's resize our image at the bottom there. It doesn't look too nice. So here, so I'm going to set the width to be none as well, and the height also to be none. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the top to the bottom of my get started button. So I'm just going to move this here so that the image looks this big. I think this is fine. Yeah, this looks fine. Okay, so let's rerun the application and see how this interface is shown there. Okay. I think we'll wait for it to launch. Okay, that's nice. Wow. So we have designed our welcome page. This doesn't look too nice. Don't worry, we'll get into styling soon. But I just want us to, complete some of these pages first before we move into our styling. So nice. At least we have our image, button, and the rest here. Okay, so the next page we're going to design will be our authentication page, right? So before we move there, let me add, I want to add an icon to the get started here. So we'll go inside drawable, right click, and then add a vector asset. So I'm going to look for this right arrow thing here, this guy. And I prefer using the two-tone, icons. So I'm going to select two-tone here. And I'll change the name to, let me just take this off, finish. And then I add it here. So I'm going to give it an icon, and I'll call it right. So we'll be having an icon there. Don't worry, I'll style this thing properly so that we can use the same design throughout the application. Okay, let me just remove this material button something from there. The style is not really important. Okay, so the next design will be our authentication. Yeah, authentication page.